and Elevation Radio.
We're live. Good God Almighty, we're live. This is Elevation Radio 1, and I'm your host, Pastor Steve, the Music Man Turner. Hallelujah! We've overcome. With the blessings of God. This is the program that spotlights positive people doing positive work while serving a positive God whose name is Jesus. You don't know why we're laughing. We'll tell you in a minute. And our program is And She Healed Them All. Good God Almighty. And we're going to do an interview, an overdue interview, an in-depth interview with Dr. Kaneal Oliver Keels, the urban scientist, pioneer in music, and so, in medicine. And I'm so excited I'm making mistakes here. Listen, let's go to our verse to rehearse. We have another young scientist on the line. Verse to rehearse from the Queen. Read that verse.
Okay.
Chapter 6:19.
And the whole multitude sought to touch him, for there went virtue out of him and healed them all.
Beautiful. And virtue, as I discovered, there are 9 different levels of angels, and one of the levels is virtue, which means the bearing of God's power and authority in the earth, sending down judgment to all mankind and judges and magistrates. This is fantastic. And so we will begin. We had problems. The devil tried to block this message, so I'm going to say a disclaimer. If you are evil, wicked, witch or warlock, heathen, you're not going to like this program today. And so we're going to bring forth the urban scientist, I call her, Dr. Kaneal Oliver Keels. Yeah, how are you today?
I am just overflowing with joy and gratitude to be on the show.
Well, we're overflowing with joy and gratitude and God's grace to have you, and also the little scientist. God bless you. And
yes, this is the one that you hear in the background is my youngest. I have 3 awesome. I like to call them kings in training, and this one is my 3-year-old one. And he is always in everything. So when I go somewhere, he puts on his button-up shirt and his tie and his shoes, and he goes too. There are times when I try to leave him out, and he goes anyway. So I happen to be blessed and highly favored in that response as well, because he really is very interested, and I don't know what he sees and how he sees it, but that's not my thing to cultivate. I'm just here to follow what the Spirit says about it.
Not a problem. And the Spirit is now saying this question: who is Dr. Kaneal Oliver Keels?
Well, I am working on my doctorate, so I'm not quite a doctor yet, but I am a master's degreed scientist. I have a master's degree in biotechnology and biodefense from University of Maryland Global Campus. I also have a bachelor's of technical professional sciences. It sounds real fancy, but what it means is that I have a lot of technical experience in all of the sciences in biotechnology. I have an associate's in biomanufacturing, biosecurity and biodefense, and biotechnology. All of those things are kind of one degree. And then I also have an associate's level in mathematics. So I have lots of years in many different infectious disease course, including a stint on the now disbanded pandemic response team for the United States. I have worked with everything from simian HIV blends to malaria, Ebola, Zika. I've worked on all of the pandemics that have happened in the last 15 years or so.
Okay, so let me ask you this quick question: is the coronavirus a biochemical product, a weapon?
Based on what I have read, and I have read a lot of literature on it, because I mean, this is the first time in my career that I haven't been able to work on it. But there's another reason, and we'll go into talking about that later. But I actually do not think that it is a bioagent that was manufactured in a laboratory. Based on what I've seen, it is a disease that is in its transposon. And what that means for lay people is everybody has heard of jumping genes. So a transposon is a jumping gene. And you have coronavirus that likes to mutate, likes to change all the time. And you put those two together and you can't get a handle on it. I am very worried and very cautious about them saying that there's going to be a therapy for the fall and the winter, because I don't believe that. I believe that there are other practical things that we can all do to boost our immune system and such, but there will not be a therapy. And it's lective, the ones that they're talking about in the literature, they're talking about a success rate of less than 30%, which means 60% of the people who would be at high risk are not going to be able to take the experimental vaccine. That's less than your 32% of the flu shot, which you have to get every year. And if it actually was working the way they said it would, then you wouldn't need to get it every 5 years. I mean, every year. You would be able to get it every couple of years, because your body would produce its own antibodies. Again, the things they don't tell you.
So are wearing masks and the social distancing, is that really working?
So the social distancing is, because it's putting you outside of the realm of infection, the ring of infection. So when you think about social distancing, it's like playing pool when you're breaking the ball, right? And you do it and then they all scatter. Well, that's what happens when you cough or sneeze, except it goes up to 6 feet. So that's why you have some that can go a little over, some can go up to 7, 8, but in general, anything over 6 feet is not going to be a problem. And as far as the mask goes, there's what they call a hierarchy of controls. And according to prudent practices in the laboratory, when you're designing experiments, administrative controls and PPE, which is what the mask and the gloves and stuff are the lowest form of protection, because it involves proper use and planning and proper regulation by the people instituting it. And the reality is that's just not going to happen. People are more likely to cross-contaminate. I'm very concerned about people wearing gloves out, because if they're not, number one, donning them and doffing them properly, and that means donning is putting on, doffing is taking it off, you're creating aerosols of everything that you just touched. And the gloves are kind of sticky, so everything sticks to it. And if you're not changing them and washing your hands and pulling them off early, you're just creating geysers of infectious particles. So I would tell you, leave the gloves and wash your hands. And I do not like the gel-based, the alcohol-based sanitizers, because you're introducing immunity into a already highly mutagenic.
So you're making it worse. I think we have on the line another caller. Who's on the line? Who's on the line?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Who are you, sir?
Yes. Good evening, I should say. This is Leroy McKenzie Jr.
No, you meant Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr.
No, Leroy McKenzie Jr.
The VIP co-host. God bless you, sir. Welcome to the program. And do you have a question to ask scientist, the urban scientist, Dr. Kaneal?
Well, I'm just here. I'm listening to the advice that she is giving, because unlike the administration that's here, they don't want to listen to the scientists and the medical advice that's being given to people. Doctor, can you answer this question? With all of the protesting that's going on, what effect is that, or can that have in the spread of the virus? Because you get these, kind of conflicting things that are going on, or that you hear about it on the news. When you see I know at least I've seen some spikes in the virus. What kind of impact is that having on the control of the virus, if you can speak to that?
Well, number one, as a mother of 3 kings in training, I have to say that I fully support the protest. We are not inhumane, and I and a couple of my mentors, some very surprising ones to me, some that have some very big impact, especially down there at NIH, blacked out this week during the scientific protest because we're not there. We don't. There are so many of us. There aren't that many of us that I'm considered a unicorn. But as it relates to the question, is social distancing, physical distancing is what I like to call it, actually, because you're not cutting people off socially. You're just giving them some space. It should definitely have been observed, and the problem with protests is that you can't regulate that because it affects us, people, melanated people, at a high rate because we're out there on the front lines in these positions, right? So now that we're out there protesting poor treatment, which is nothing new under the sun, under this white supremacist foundation, and supported by the Vatican and Western cultures, historically, we're not getting the distance, and it's going to cause some spikes because it's still going around. People are still not exhibiting symptoms. The younger you are, the more likely you're able to fight it off, unless you have underlying respiratory conditions. And I'm going to talk about some of my concerns that are going into the fall and the winter season, especially for people who have respiratory issues. But it needs to happen, and if I was going to plan these things, I would say to the planners, make sure, unfortunately, that it's on the hottest, most humid day that you can possibly get it, because preliminary data suggests that coronavirus does not survive well in temperatures where it feels above 92 degrees Fahrenheit with a relative humidity of 40 to 50%, which is not raining, but you could have had rain in the last day or so.
Wow, that's interesting. Now I want to ask you a question, if I can. What are the symptoms of the virus that are real symptoms?
Well, I mean, you have them, right? I have allergies. I go out to hike every day, and every day that I get near these specific trees, I'm sneezing and coughing, and I'm choking, right? Just trying to get the pollen out of my air tract. So if somebody is sneezing, they usually don't have the coronavirus, because there are no coronavirus symptoms that have come up as far as the consensus goes where sneezing is a problem. Now, sneezing is still nasty because, remember, we talked about, breaking the cue ball and pull, and it's going to spread that way. So you still have to, cover your orifices. But it's the coughing, it's the lack of taste, it's the splitting headache that goes away and comes down, the body aches, and really being so tired that you just feel like you've been run over by a train. It doesn't get better, and it sticks around. a normal cough can last up to 3 weeks. They don't tell you that, but it can. If it goes over 3 weeks, you have something else, which will bring me into my concern for the fall. As we go into cold and flu season regularly, right, mixed with this viral pneumonia, which is what I like to think of coronavirus is. The blend between coronavirus and cold and flu mixed with people with regularly occurring fall, spring allergies and respiratory issues, we're going to have problems where it's going to be hard for those people to breathe. The steroid treatments are not going to work because they've got multiple viruses, blends of viruses attacking them at once. And if you read the information on intubation and being put on a ventilator, if you're put on one of them, your chances for survival become less and less. So it already drops. When you're put on a ventilator or intubated, your chances of survival at that point drop from, 60%, which is where everybody is, which is great. 60% of people recovering, not having bad allergies, not having bad symptoms, great. But the minute they put you on, you're talking about 20 or less %. And for every day, it drops a few percentage points.
Wait a minute. I have to check myself because I believe I have to agree with Dr. Lynn Pender, CEO of the Christian Authors on Tour, who said I was a walking miracle because in February I was sick, had to be hospitalized, stayed in there for at least 9 days, and was on a ventilator and a heart monitor with double pneumonia and the flu, which it was actually, according to what you're saying, I had all those symptoms. It was the virus, but they didn't diagnose me with it.
Yeah. Well,
why is that?
Back in February, the FDA knew about coronavirus. In fact, the FDA knew about coronavirus 2 days before Thanksgiving. And if they want to know how I know that, it's because I was working as a contractor for the FDA, and it came across my desk. And I told a very high-ranking, very public member of the FDA family that, hey, we should be paying attention to this. And he's like, it's above your pay grade.
Oh! No, you didn't.
Yeah, he did tell me it was above my pay grade. And that's fine and all. So there was some things that I did that would cause me problems if I was planning to go back on that, because I think that American people need to know. But there were contractors and people who came back from the FDA's China office who had coronavirus in November, late November, early December, and January.
Now, Doctor, can I ask you a question? What was it that stuck out to you? What was the red flag that signaled to you, hey, this is something that we need to pay attention to?
Well, at that time, no one was there, and I like to read all types of scientific literature, especially when things come out from some of these regulating bodies. And what spoke to me specifically was that they are like, hey, there's this unknown virus in China that's been going on, and we've pulled our people back. And I thought, why would you pull them back? If anything, in science, when we are doing experiments and we're getting things from unknown sources or sources that we know could have contamination, we're supposed to quarantine them for 14 days, right? So the fact that they brought these people back and let them on the FDA campus and did not quarantine them, even when they knew, to me was a huge red flag, because it goes against all the foundational principles that we do, even in sciences, for inanimate objects. So I get that they're people, but they needed to be separated to see what was going on, especially because they were coming specifically from one of the areas that were hard hit in China.
May I ask you a question?
Yes.
These people, first of all, FDA, where you're working at, is that it? That was in D.C.?
FDA has several campuses, and because of still having an active clearance, I can't discuss the location.
No
but
problem.
What I can say is that it was in the Metro D.C. area.
Close to Baltimore. And were these folks, I hate to say this, were they of all ethnicities or just the good white folks?
They actually were all ethnicities. I have a really good friend that was part of the delegation. She's a brilliant environmental scientist. She's gone over there to help them many, many times, and she came back very, very sick, and it concerned me. And I told her, I said, I'd love to see you, but the problem is, and she's like, you don't have to tell me. She said, 14 days, I'm self-quarantining. And because of her position and her ranking, she was able to do so. Wow.
I had a discussion with you offline. I don't know if you can discuss it online, but you said something that you can tell how a person looks when they're sick, and you said that there was a person that we discussed that looks sick right now, although he claims he's fine.
Yeah.
Are you willing to say who we were talking about?
I would caution everybody, when you have high-ranking federal administrative personnel backing out of press conferences when they're supposed to be leading the corona response team, and the underlying denominator has not, I would think that that person is infected as well, if everybody else is.
So, if you don't want to say that name, I have no problem saying it.
I have active clearance. I will not do that.
Okay, I'll say it. And that is that the Dr. McKenzie. Where's he at? Did he go to sleep? Dr. McKenzie?
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
What I'm talking about is
if she doesn't want to say it, then I don't believe that you should say it. I'm gonna say it like that.
Is that the general consensus of the council?
No.
All right. Okay. All right. I'll just go on. Let me see here.
She can't. She won't tell you not to say it. I'm gonna tell you not to say it.
All right. What do you think, the Queen?
I think it's best you leave well enough alone.
Okay. What I will say, thank you, Queen, is Dr. Julian Levon, an African-American scientist and engineer, was a pioneer in cultivating, what it says here, steroids from plants back in the day. And there's a whole list of, according to Wikipedia, a whole list of African-American inventors and engineers and scientists, they all grouped in that category, that have helped build this country. And so we thank you. And in the place of legacy is now Dr. Kaneal Oliver Keels. And I understand you have a company. What's the name of your company?
My company is called Immunivation, and we are a process development and product development firm. So I get to work with all types of things, which is great for people like me who they say have a short attention span. That's not quite it. I do get bored with some products because people don't understand the thought and the processes that go into them.
What have you created?
Well, right now we are working on 4 different projects from small, also Black-owned firms, and one of our own. And we are working on, I will call, a male enhancement vitamin.
Careful now. It's a family show.
Exactly, but let's just say this. When people are being fruitful and multiplying like they're supposed to do, by what God says, fruitful and multiply, in the proper context.
I'm petrified.
In the proper context, yes. We are going for people who have problems. Usually they're health related, or because of former choices and former lifestyle before they got saved and born again and filled with the Holy Spirit. We're working on.
Can I ask you a question?
We're working.
Can you please talk about my co-host? Please do not talk about my co-host, Dr. McKenzie. Now continue.
But Doc, please don't encourage him. Please don't encourage him. Please don't encourage him and pay him no mind. Please pay him no mind.
I'm not.
Okay.
All I'm gonna say is, when I get done, there are gonna be some very, very happily married couples again. I'm working on that.
What's his name?
I like the way you put that, Doc.
They're gonna be some really happy. They're gonna be like, okay, I found out why I got married again. Yes, I'm grateful for you for that. Yes, marriage is coming back to the boat.
It's maybe time for a commercial here. And so
we done with that. We're gonna talk about the other ones too when you get back, I guess.
Okay, good. Listen, thank God. Listen, Praise Unlimited Ministries is looking for two singers, two female gospel singers. One that sings lead and one that sings alto, to take part in a glorious festivity called the Festival of Weeks, which is 8 days. I said 8 days of high praise. It'll be with the First Church of God in Lithicum, Maryland. And my God, it's going to be an awesome experience. And for those two singers, whoever they are, until we find them, your hotel accommodations will be paid. Oh my God, this is incredible. Never seen anything like it. Listen, call us quickly at 410-302-2737, 410-302-2737, and join myself and Dr. McKenzie Jr. At the Harlem Book Fair in New York. Yeah, you may not be able to get there, but you can do it virtually. Yeah, if you're an author that wants to be a part of this great event, you can actually email the CEO, that's Dr. Lynn Pender, at lpender, Pinder, at the takeactionnetwork.com. That's what it is. We got Dr. McKenzie Jr. Hello.
Yes, sir.
I passed you the baton, sir, and you missed it. You dropped it on the track.
Yeah, I missed that. I thought you were finishing up the commercial.
I was throwing it
for the Harlem Book Festival. You gave all of the information. I think it's a great opportunity for those that are looking to be involved in this virtual experience. The Harlem Book Festival, for those that aren't familiar, is one of the top book festivals in the country. And this year, with everything that's going on, it has been moved to the platform of being moved to a virtual platform. But it's still going to be, a couple 3 days full of excitement, full of speakers, and just a great event that you'll be able to still meet some great authors, find some great books. So if you're an avid reader, if you are an aspiring author, this is one of those places that you certainly want to be at. If you're an author that is looking to gain national exposure, the Harlem Book Festival is one of those places that you can certainly be able to do that at. So I would say that you contact Lynn Pender, and if you want to give that information again, her contact information, so that people can get registered for the event.
I sure do, Doctor. And that's L Pender, LPINDER, at the takeactionnetwork.com, and block off these days, July 18th and 19th. You don't want to be nowhere else but at the virtual book fair, first of its kind. And we're back. We're back now. How quickly that was. Isn't that amazing? We're back now with the great Dr. Kaneal Oliver Keels, former member of the President Obama's pandemic team. You got it, buddy. Listen, let me ask you this question: Are you accepted in the workplace? Are you accepted among your peers?
Well, it really depends on the locations that I've worked in. So there are a lot of times where they would hear what I had to say and kind of poo-poo me and did not listen to what I had to say, even though when they came back, I was 100% correct on what I was saying.
Okay, why don't you think they listened to you? Because you were a woman or a black woman?
Both. Dr. Freeman Hrabowski, who was under President Obama one of the minority chairs of the National Societies of Medicine, Engineering, and Science, he did a study back in 2010 that talked about STEM training and STEM in the workplace and how that looks for everybody and specifically for minorities, right? And Dr. Hrabowski's report found that not only are we represented, they move us from active bench positions into administrative roles where we're no longer a threat to them as a secretary, as a person who has no skill set. So I really think that the industry does not cater to us because they're very scared of the legacy of creation that we lead.
So it's sort of like an alt-right, and alt-right is what I define as corporate KKK, even in science.
Oh, science is well known for it. So I had a former mentor. He is a very well-known 30-year PhD scientist from one of the institutes at NIH who participated against NIH founding rules and participated in the scientific blackout that was held just on the 12th of June. And
I didn't hear about that.
He did it for me because a really high-ranking NIH official himself, and having all these things, he's international, he's from a different country, but he recognizes that the people that he gives the most advantage, right, to are minority scientists and minority men, but also minority women, because we're the most innovative in his laboratory. And although I don't work in his laboratory anymore, he was one of the first people to congratulate me on opening Immunovation and giving scientists, also my other minority scientists, an opportunity. In Immunovation, I'm not the only master's level scientist. There is another one. She's an analytical chemist, and she is absolutely brilliant. The two of us together.
You want to give her some love? What's her name?
Yes, Cassandra Wiley. She is absolutely fantastic. She is one of the best chemists that I have ever met and worked with in my career. We've worked together successfully before, and she is absolutely integral to Immunovation at this time.
Well, you probably, and we thank you for that. Two highly intellectual, innovative, pioneering black women in science. This is fantastic. And you probably need some government money, some grant money, some funding money. So let me, while you're waiting for government funding, let me introduce you to my co-host, Dr. Leroy McKenzie, Jr. He's got all kinds of money, offshore money, private money.
I don't want any of that government money. I don't want any of that
493B money. he can help you. He's like a small nation.
Like I
checkbook.
said,
He drops his checkbook, it just bounces. I'm sorry, it just goes right through. Go ahead, sir.
Woo!
No, all I'm saying he talks about me, Doc. Please don't give him any ear. But he's the one that's why he's trying to push it off on me. So don't pay him no mind. But I think the work that you're doing is awesome. And if you need for those that are willing to contribute to your cause and everything like that, is a way that they can do that. It doesn't necessarily have to be financially, but any other way that they might be able to assist you in being able to do the research that you do. How might they be able to do that?
Oh, sure. So there are a number of ways. You're welcome to look up our website. Operations@immunovation.biz is the email address. The website is immunovation, and I'm .biz, and I'm going to spell it. It's IMMUNOVATION.biz, and they're welcome to, contact the email, which is operations. Me as the CEO, I run the operations one. I like to interface with everybody, and it freaks people out sometimes because when you see something come back, you'll see founder and CEO, and they think I'm male most of the time, so I really find that one hilarious myself. But I like to really interact. I've gotten a lot of emails that just say thank you for doing this opportunity, and I just tell them I am a giant standing on the shoulders of other giants, pulling up the next generation of giants.
Oh, that's heavy.
I love that.
Can you say it again?
I love that.
Can you say it again?
Yes, I am a giant standing on the shoulders of ancestral giants, pulling up the next generation of giants, should we be here.
My goodness.
Wow.
Listen.
And that's what we should be doing.
Yeah, that was so heavy. I got to go do some music right now. Hold on a second. We got to get some joy up in here. This is fantastic.
Come on, where my praisers at? This song is for all the praisers that love the Lord. Hallelujah. We're going to take you back a little bit old school church. This song says, I've been running for Jesus a long time. Come on, put your hands together with us, wherever you might be. On your job or in your home, in your car. Come on, sing it, Pastor. I've been running for Jesus. Running for Jesus. A mighty long time. A mighty long time. I've been running for Jesus. Running for Jesus. A mighty long time. A mighty long time. Sometimes up, sometimes down. Almost level to the ground. I've been running for Jesus. Running for Jesus. Running for Jesus. A mighty long time.
All right, I had to. That was so exciting. I put on a praise break here. I saw the Queen taking a step. I saw her making a step. She made a step. And so, where's my Queen at? Where's my Queen at?
Right here.
Where she is? All right. Anything you want to say? All right. Thank God you're here. Don't leave me. Listen. What a question you want to ask the urban scientist, Dr. Keels? Something you want to ask her?
Not really, because I think the last time that we spoke, she enlightened me on a lot of stuff. So I was really encouraged at that time and also today.
Oh, that's a statement. Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. You sound like a preacher, though. I'll tell you.
Listen, so right now.
You're like an evangelist. Let's see. Now, let me ask you a question. They say that God and science don't mix. So you couldn't possibly be a Christian and a scientist also at the same time, could you?
I don't agree with that. My very first day down at a school in Marietta, Georgia, that no longer exists in the way that I know. I'm going to shout out all my SPUSU alums, Southern Polytechnic State University. I walked into very sharp, very genteel, southern white son mathematician. And he was a professor. And he didn't have any fingers. I didn't notice that for the first, 2 years. I had him for 2 semesters and didn't even notice that he didn't have any fingers. Which is crazy.
Well, you're a scientist now. Come on now. You're supposed to check all that stuff out.
No, but he was a walking testament. And what he said was, science and mathematics are not without God, right? They are used to explain how and why he created things in the manner that he did. And even if the preliminary research says it's not so, eventually it lines up with the word.
Mm. Oh,
So
okay.
science standing of why God chose to do things the way he did.
Wow. I like
Heavy.
that. I like that. I like that.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
And that gentleman, and I wish I could remember his name, but I can't. But I remember his face, and he was always smiling at 7:30 in the morning, because I've always been an dark 30 person, and I don't remember him, but he changed my life. He was the first person that changed my life in that way. There was one other before him, but it wasn't the same way. I had a teacher, since I am a graduate. I'm a Baltimore girl, and I'm a graduate of Towson High, and I happened to be there with the very famous swimmer. Anyhow, this science teacher told me that I would never be a chemist because I wasn't smart enough. He can eat his heart out, because I own that. I'm no chemist. I'm a molecular biotechnologist, but I have the same amount of chemistry as a chemist. I have more biochemistry than a chemist. I have physics and foundations of engineering, organic chemistry, regular chemistry, biochemistry, biotechnique, regular biology. I have more than a single one, which is why that fancy bachelor's degree says that I have experience in all of the scientific disciplines.
So you are more than qualified.
I am more than qualified, but I come from a long line of non-degreed engineers. My dad, may he continue to rest in peace and in power. He joined the Ancestors 10 years ago, and he started out as an electrician, Mervo, and he ended up running a lot of the stuff down there at University of Maryland Medical System. So far that when people couldn't fix and understand the old, quote-unquote, old equipment, they would call him, and he would be able to fix it by hearing. I have a scientist that works with me who worked with me previously in a biofuels type bioenergy thing, and all I kept saying to her was, "It didn't sound right. It didn't sound right." And she laughed, not knowing my history, but it reminded me of my father and my grandfather, both, engineers in their own right, without the degree and without the titles, and just being able to hear it. So I like to always say that I'm my ancestors' wildest dream. They could have never, and they really couldn't have believed that it would have been a woman. So I happen to love to go on that, but I'm just like anybody else. Anybody could be a me. In fact, I'm looking to pull the next generation of me in, and they're going to have to be tenacious, and they're going to have to be persistent. They're going to have to know who they are. They're going to have to know whose they are, and they're going to have to do it even when everything else tells them no. I have come from a long line of abuse and neglect, and just suffering for knowing who I am, suffering for the word's sake, if you will. And I'm still here, and I'm still standing, and I'm still stomping on the devil every chance I get. I want him to know that I see him, and he won't win.
Listen, I had a indication of the persistence of Dr. Keels when I told her we were having all kind of technical difficulties and things of that nature, and she said, "Well, I hear what you're saying, but we're going to get this message out today." She said, "Listen, restart the computer. Just restart it. come out of it, come back in, and go from there." So after 5 times of trying, we finally, this is why you're able to hear it today, because of the persistence and the faith, dedication of the character of Dr. Keels. I tell you, this is important. God get the glory. God get the glory. And so what words of encouragement would you say to a young black woman, a young black girl who is dealing with racism and dealing with sexism and all that ism, which are a number of spirits? What would you say to encourage them today? Dr. Keels.
Wow, that's really heavy. The only thing I could tell them is if I'm sitting here talking to you, if I can do it, you can do it. Young ladies and young gentlemen, I should not be alive. I was abused by my parents, not my dad, but my mom. My dad was absentee for a lot of it. My mom, I survived that. I survived the verbal bashing of my grandmother, who just didn't know she was being used. And she did the best she could, and even now she does the best she can. And growing up and going to school and being discriminated against by people, melanated people who look like you because they didn't understand you. They didn't know your hurt. They didn't know that they were being used to push you, because this road of pioneering and this road of, pushing through to be a seed and to be a giant, right, is a very lonely road. And if I had not have had the upbringing that I had, I could not face the evils that stare me in the face. When people tell you you can't do it, you say to them, "Watch me." When they tell you you're not good enough, that you can't possibly live that way, you tell them, "Watch me." And not too long ago, maybe about 3 weeks to a month, I was in a forum with a lot of what they call entrepreneurs in residence in a mentoring program. And they told me specifically that our melanated people would not help my business run. I would need to open my business up of their money. And you know what I told them? Watch me. Because I'm standing on God's promise, because this is not my business. I had nothing to do with this. I thought that this was going to be a master's project for my master's thesis, and the advisory committee pulled me over. Usually when they do that, you're getting negative news. And they said, you should really do this. And I'm like, no, but it's just, I don't have the credentials. I don't have it. And it reminds me of scripture, and I don't know what it is, and I'm going to lean on the panel, but it says God calls, he qualifies those who he calls. And then, he calls you according to his purpose. He always gives you provision. So I'm standing on provision. I'm standing on changing the world. And I'm standing on showing people that we are the creators that we have always been. We have been suppressed, and we're still here. We have been shaken, and we are still here. They have murdered us. They have maimed us. They have beat us, and we are still here. And, honey, you can stand on me, because I'm going to be here.
That's what I'm talking about. This is why we love God here and why we love black. BLACK. This is what it's all about. Yeah, ethnicity in terms of the kingdom, in terms of royalty. And being black signifies royalty, signifies elegance. Mm-hmm. We have nothing to be ashamed of. Nothing to be ashamed of. Hold your head up, black people. Hold your head up. Be proud, every black man. Hold your head up and be strong. Walk in the authority that God gave you, because he gave us the authority to be like him. And that's why they're jealous of us. That's why they can't stand us. That's why we just look and do everything with ease and and with freedom of movement. We just have it. It's in it. It's in us. So, don't hate us. Speaking of someone who
they hate us, but they hate us because of our connection with the divine. We are created in His image, and we are the first, and we will continue to be.
I think I see Dr. McKenzie's mouth open. What do you have to say, sir?
No, I think that what the doctor says is right on point. But can I ask you this? Where do we go from here? How do we move forward? Being in the I don't know what stage or phase this might be, the middle end of the virus, in order to be able to assist it and being able to bring an end to it, because I know that we're quite a ways away from that. But what can we do? How do we move forward from here in order to be able to attack this virus? In order to be able to get us as a society back to some sense of normalcy?
Wow. Well, I think that's a multifaceted question, and the very first thing that comes into my mind about this is we as believers have to use our authority. Jesus, when He died on the cross, He said, "It is done." And when you look in Revelation, God said, "It is finished." So if it is finished and it is done, and He has already given us everything we need to survive, then we need to call this virus what it is, and it's an attack on not just our physical bodies, but the way that we do things. And God is very strategic. He knows that we're created for such a time as this. He knows that this is what we're supposed to be doing. He put us here to do it. So as believers, we need to walk in our authority, and that is casting down and subjecting coronavirus and any virus to the authority of the blood of Jesus, because it is done. That's the first thing we need to do. Then we need to pray and really listen to the response that He gives us, because a lot of the problem is we have weakened immune systems, right? We should be able to fight this and not have any problem, but because we're so sterile all the time, by not getting out in the sunlight, we're not drinking adequate water, everything has sugar attached to it, and sugar is really, really toxic in the body. In fact, it sets off the third strongest hormonal response in the body. We need to lessen our sugar intake. We need to increase our movement. We need to eat properly, and that's going back to eating a very biblical-based diet. We have to cooperate with the Spirit and listen to the ministering spirits so that we're able to overcome it. And I think that's two of the things that we can do immediately. It's not going away. This is going to come back, and it's going to mix with pneumonia, and it's going to mix with influenza, and it's going to mix with the common cold, which is called rhinovirus. And when these things mix together, this second and third that's coming in the fall and in the winter, they're going to be gut punches for people who have not prepared themselves now by cleaning up their diet and drinking more water and getting more exercise and getting more sunlight and really cutting down on the sugar and the refined stuff. If we don't do that, then we're going to be in trouble, because the next wave is going to be deadlier. So those are a few things that we can do.
Now, you said something about...
First and foremost, we got to stand in our authority.
Okay. You said something about a biblical diet. What are you speaking of?
Well, everybody talks about the Daniel fast, but I like to go back to Moses, the laws, and really read not just the 10 Commandments that everybody likes to quote, because there's like 438, I believe. There may be a little more, but I believe that's around the number that I remember counting myself. And it talks about everything on how to live, and not saying that we take Jesus out of it, because we know that He swore by Himself and came in and made a covenant with Himself. And that's why He died on the cross, because that was the only thing that was able to do it. So He's our perpetual sin offering and our perpetual peace offering. But we really need to go back and see what God said about what we're supposed to be eating, how we're supposed to be eating. We need to, fast, and we need to pray, and we need to drink water.
And so, what you're saying, I think if I can interpret that, is that all the all-you-can-eat buffets and burger meals and combo meals, things that Dr. McKenzie eats should not be eaten.
I don't know that Dr. McKenzie eats it, but what I'm saying is that there's a place for feasting. I don't know him as well as you do, but I'm saying
I do.
Dr. Keel, my eating habits. I eat to live, and I have had virtually the same diet because I'm adamant about trying to be healthy. I'm trying to live as long as I can live, and so that I'm not going any sooner than I have to go. So me eating healthy, and I have a one question, and I don't know if you can answer this or not. In terms of stuff to kind of eat or drink and everything. And I was looking today, and it said that pineapples are a source of being able to help the immune system. Is that true?
So pineapples are, so are ginger and garlic and onions. All these really pungent flavors and pungent smells are very good for the immune system.
Okay.
What about lemons?
Lemons are, but everything has a place. You could have those. I use lemon every day. In my cooking. In fact, the very first thing I drink in the morning is a hot tea with lemon and lavender. I am a scientist that does not drink coffee, which is hilarious. But I don't need coffee because I get up at dark 30 and I go until 10 o'clock.
Interesting. Okay. Let's let me see here. Queen.
I'm here.
Okay, you're very quiet today.
I'm a listener. I'm a listener. I take notes. I'm just a listener.
Okay. Is there any question you want to ask her before we go?
No, I don't, because I listen to everything carefully. So, no.
Oh, so you're saying you're analyzing everything?
That's right.
So people are listening to you as you listen to this conversation. I guess. Interesting.
Appreciate that.
All righty. So, what do you see yourself in 5 years, Dr. Keels?
Well, we're going to make that doctor a permanent part of my repertoire coming up, so that's interesting. I'm not giving all the details on that yet, but know that it's in the works. I see Immunovation working with the Eye Care Foundation. We do quite a bit of work. There's a new store, Be Green, that some of the products that Immunovation is developing, some of those will be in that store, and maybe a couple of more, and also available online. So look out for those. We will be.
Yes.
I think you might have lost her.
Oh no.
Yeah, I think she dropped.
Oh, can you hear me? I'm sorry.
No.
Still going on.
We didn't hear a word.
We can.
You got to repeat it all over again.
Well, okay. I'm going to be making the doctor permanent. That's the one thing that's already in the works.
All right, check.
And we are working with the Eye Care Foundation out of Baltimore. And we are working on a potential mentorship program to train underprivileged and underrepresented minorities in science, to give them an opportunity so that they can be the next giants and stand on me, like I stand on Dr. Catherine Johnson.
Right,
also, we have other things. Yeah.
And they were classified things. I got you.
No, some of them are classified. Some of them are not. But I'm coming back, on the show in a little while, in a few weeks, and I'll be giving some updates and letting some things out. So we have plenty of time to disclose all the things that are working, I'm working on as God sees me.
So you're saying that a world-class scientist, biochemical engineer, scientist, and former member of the presidential pandemic team doesn't have a problem coming back on this show, this Elevation Radio 1 show? Is that what you're saying?
I am saying that. I believe the next date is July the 18th when I'll be back. And as long as our distinguished host will have me back, I will continue to come back and give updates on what's going on and how I can support the community and how the community can support me.
This is fantastic. Maybe, hopefully, possibly, I can probably have your partner come on too.
We shall see about Cassandra. She is a on fire believer as well. So she is just fantastic, and she is a wealth of information. If you think I am, she's silent type, but she's got a lot of information in that head.
Okay, well, I'll pull it out of her. I understand that while looking at the 9 levels of angels, a research I did today, that they were talking about the seraphims, I believe, that they had since they were in the presence of God with fire, that they were fire-like as well. And it made me think about when God came down and spoke to Moses, he came into a fire. So that really let me know that it was God himself that personally recruited Moses. And so when you have the fire in you, that means that you have the holy fire of God, sent by God, to do the work of God.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she healed them all. Good God Almighty. And so can you take your healing from a woman? Can you take your healing from a black woman? It shouldn't matter. As long as you get healed.
No.
That's important. And so I appreciate you saying the distinguished host. Did you hear that, Mackenzie?
No, I missed that part.
Say it again, Dr. Keels.
As long as our distinguished host will have me back, I will be coming back.
There you go. We'll talk about it. Because Dr. Mackenzie is always giving me a hard time, Dr. Keels. Do you have any medication for him?
No, I don't think that he may need it. You got to let people be in their personality. All personality types are welcome in the body of Christ. So we need that. We need that. They can't all be clothed with fire like me.
You're giving up life. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Matter of fact, I think it might be good right now to we've had the serious stuff here. Let's get into a little of the arts. Queen.
Yes.
Can you drop that poem for me that I like so much? Life is worth living for these overly educated people.
Absolutely. Okay. Life is worth living wherever you are, deep in a dungeon or high in a star. Life is worth living. It all has its plan. When God knows you're giving the best that you can. Mm-hmm. So pray when you're happy and pray when you're blue, for life is worth living when God lives with you.
Yeah, when God lives with you. And so we can't do anything without God's approval, without his commission, without his heavy anointing. Some folk have to do more and have to bear up more, but it's only they can do it with the grace of God, which is the divine strength of God, the unmerited favor of God to help you. That's how you've been able to pull through, Dr. Keels, when racism has been in your face, and when sexism has been there telling you that it's not above your pay grade. It was the grace of God that held you in place, keep you from strangling people and choking them up, and still doing your work in the peace of God because you're doing what you were called to do, and thank God for it. So I might want to ask you to consider at some point, perhaps down the road, that since we have Mackenzie here, Jr., he's a publisher of books, and you might want to think about writing a book. I will recommend him for that.
I would love to write one. I don't know where to start, but all things in the correct season. If I'm fire now, that book is gonna be for real fire.
All right.